Last time in the Sports Corner, we spoke to Buzz Bissinger about his latest book, The Mosquito Bowl. Here's the continuation of that interview.
Talk about improbable. My dad was a Marine at Okinawa. I know he was a private. I didn't know what he did. I didn't know what his job classification was. And so I was doing the book early on. I said, well, and he never talked about it. So I felt that's his zone of privacy. I have to respect that. But muster rolls are pretty easy to find. Marine records are in pretty good shape. And, I look at the time frame of end of 44, 45. There's his name, my name, and there's his name on the muster roll, not only as a Marine, as a rifleman, but he's in one of the regiments that I'm writing about. And that blew me away. And then people said, well, do you think he went to the game? And I said, I don't know. All I can tell you is here's the criteria. My father loved sports. My father loved to drink. And my father loved to gamble. So he hit the trifecta. So he really well could have been there. And I'm sure he knew of some of the players that I wrote about because they were big names. I mean, like Dave Schreiner was well known all over the country, a two-time All-American. John McLowry had been a big star at Brown and played for the New York Giants. So I'm sure he knew who these guys were because every Marine did on Guadalcanal. Athletes are athletes. They're always big. They're always important. College football was really big then. And, they sort of hang together. So everyone knew who they were.
You win the Pulitzer at age 32. At the time that you write Friday Night Lights, you had already basically won the Triple Crown of awards. The book has had so much success with the film and the TV series and continued copies being purchased. Is it hard to kind of I think of someone like Orson Welles, right? And Citizen Kane, you make this great film. It's almost impossible to follow it up. Was there any of that thought process?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the next book?
There have been moments in the journey of Friday Night Lights, which is now, I think, 32 years old. The run has been incredible. I mean, the book has not stopped for 32 years. It still sells tens of thousands of copies. I get emails about it, going on book tour. I'm asked about it, constantly. I had no idea, but as it took off, it screwed them with my head because I think we all want to advance in life if we're ambitious. We all want to top what we've done. And, I don't know if I ever can. Now, I think I've written a better book and a more important book, and I hope it does what Friday Night Lights did. But my father sat me down at one point because I like to moan about things and complain and whine. And, he wasn't mean, but he said, this is a good problem to have. I don't quite understand why this is screwing with your head. You've written this book. It's become iconic. People love it. They respect it. It's a movie. It's a TV series. What's not to like? And bit by bit, I realized he was right. Celebrate it. Don't reject it. Celebrate it. But it's also become a motivation of, can I do better? Can I do something more important, more resonant, a stronger, more poignant, dramatic story? And I think I've done that with the Mosquito Bowl. It was nice that I knew that I could go back and do the kind of work that I'd done when I was a young man. That was very gratifying. I still got it. And that was important to know and nice to know.
I think another thing that stands out in the book for the fans at home is just the concept of basically just such a different era. I mean, college football at that time, so much larger, bigger than the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL had a very diminished reputation then. Among college coaches, they were sort of thugs. They were losers. And at that point in time, college coaches advised players, don't go into the pros. Play hard, play here, get an education, and then get on with your life and get a job. They were very, very dismissive of it. And college football was huge. Now, during the war years, a lot of men were gone, and the Navy saved college football with their officer training programs and allowed men to play football before they shipped overseas. But it was still big, even in the 40s. Notre Dame Army, 60 or 70,000 at Yankee Stadium. Even during the war years, Notre Dame went out to play USC in the annual game. So that's what people gravitated to. And I think football was, they always say baseball is the national pastime. But if you look at attendance figures, college football was overwhelmingly, more popular. And that's part of the book to get into. And there's very little football in it. I mean, a friend of mine, and she was a woman. Well, it doesn't matter, but she said, I don't really care about football and I don't really care about war, which are two aspects of the book. But she said, I love the book because she loved the portrayal of the characters that I wrote about. And that was the goal. I don't want you to care about football. I don't want you to care about war necessarily. I want you to fall in love with these men and see just the horror they went through and their willingness to sacrifice and lose their lives if that was what was called for. They didn't want to lose their lives. They weren't crazy heroes, but they knew this is part and parcel of serving your country in the Marine Corps.
What is that, in wrapping up our conversation, Buzz, and thank you so much again for taking time with us this morning. What was that process like for you in terms of trying really to humanize war?
It's like anything in life when you're reporting and you're reporting on a long-term project. There are moments of terror and fear. I'm not going to get at it. I'm certainly not going to make things up. But when I began to get letters that these guys had written and realized the families had kept a wonderful paper trail, I became more and more confident. And, I fell in love with these guys. I'll never know them. I'm sorry, I don't know them. But as I wrote, I kept a picture of one of them, an incredible athlete, pure All-American. When we think of All-American, we will think of Dave Schreiner, who was a two-time All-American from Wisconsin. And I, kept the picture next to me. Why am I writing this? I'm writing in many ways to preserve the memory of great men from World War II because we're losing them. We're losing them by the hundreds every day. They may all be gone in 10 years. And I want these men memorialized because we forget, at Veterans Day, it pops up, but we forget. And then looking at his picture, I would get a little choked up because it looked like my dad. My dad was 19, but they were all babies in a sense. And when I look at Schreiner, I say the word waste. Obviously, it wasn't waste. He was serving our country, but he had, so much life ahead of him. He was in love. He wanted to get married. He wanted to have kids. He wanted to raise a family. He wanted a dog. He wanted to be a coach or maybe even a doctor, and he got none of it. And in battle, no matter how many people are around you, you die alone. You die alone. That's what war is, because in many cases, you got to move on. I mean, you can't linger. You try to save somebody, but you got to move on, because if you don't move on, you're going to get killed. And so the whole thing is indescribable. You're in a foxhole and you love that guy. That guy's protecting you. You're protecting him. You're brothers. And, you turn around and you can hear of a bullet, because they don't make a lot of sound like they do in the nonsensical movies. And you see that he's been shot in the helmet, and you can see the little hole in the helmet, and it's gone through his brain. And you want to cry, but you can't. You have to move on to the extent. And sometimes you take someone who's died and you use the body as a shield so you don't get killed. There's a lot in the book about just how horrific war is, and that's on purpose. We have to know. Movies sanitize. They only go so far. I wanted people to see just how horrifying it is, how random it is, how quick thinking you have to be. And ultimately, in the end, it's luck that keeps you alive, and it's luck that kills you.
Heartbreaking, but an incredible story, Buzz.
Well, thank you. Thank you. This was fun.
Mosquito
Where'd you get the coat? Where'd you get the jacket?
I got it in Harlem, actually. Anytime we want to go shopping together, I don't know if I can keep up with you financially, but be happy to go shopping.
Don't worry, I can't keep up financially. My wife, when she's really mad at me, she brings it up. Did you have the matching pants?
I do, and I'm wearing them even on the Zoom.
Holy smokes! Lisa, this guy's decked. Let me see.
I mean, you're a Pulitzer Prize winner. I mean, you got to bring out your best. So
there we go. Here we go. Turn it so I can see. Wait, my wife wants to see. Go ahead. Look, wait, and he's got a pocket thing. Oh my God!
Pocket square.
You're the best dressed host I've been with in ages.
This says a lot. I mean, Dan Patrick, you've been on some great shows, so.
Oh, you're much better dressed than Dan Patrick. Yeah, and you're nicer. Dan's so mopey all the time.
Well, Buzz, I wanted to thank you again. And before we head out, just, of course, the Mosquito Bowl is a story of these brave young men and women that we've spoken about this morning that
Right.
survived
And women. That's correct.
That did not, and the families and landscapes that shaped them. It is available at all major retailers. Please pick it up today. It's a great read.
Well, thank you, and it was a pleasure being on. Thank you very much.